Hey guys, this is the Real Hadeel podcast, and today I have Holly Bertone, who's the CEO of Pink Fortitude, and today she's going to be talking about some pretty cool stuff. So, Holly, please take it away.
Oh, sure. I wanted to talk about how to, basically how to live with a chronic illness, build a business, and juggle family life. That's why we're here. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, Holly. I'm really happy to have you on here because you live a certain life that most people don't know how to live when they have a chronic illness. So I really wanted to put you on here because I think it's very important for all the women viewers to hear what you have to say and to show that, although there's a struggle right now in my life and although I'm going through so much, I'm still able to find what I love to do, find a passion and incorporate that in my life and not have that chronic illness take over. Tell us a bit more of the illness that you have.
Oh, sure. So I was back in 2010. I was diagnosed with breast cancer on my 39th birthday.
Wow.
And I know, after the boohoos and the tears and the anger and the screaming and throwing things, I kind of came to this peaceful place where I was like, okay, I was diagnosed on my birthday. It must have been my gift. Mm-hmm. And just, kind of really thought about it like that. I mean, some girls want earrings or roses, but I got breast cancer. Mm-hmm. And actually my boyfriend at the time proposed 2 days after the diagnosis. So wow. Yeah, it was a crazy year trying to get through cancer treatment with chemo and radiation and surgery. And then also, we got married at the Justice of the Peace, mm-hmm. but, still trying to be a fiance and everything right. like that. And then 1 year after treatment ended, I still was not healing. And I had been to doctors and tests. Everything seemed normal. They kept saying, oh, you've been through a lot. And I'm like, I'm still considered myself young and healthy, right? Like aside right. from the cancer. And after a year, finally was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune condition.
Okay.
And basically it's the autoimmune component of hypothyroidism. And one of the biggest side effects is chronic fatigue. And when I say chronic fatigue, it is like epic, just painful, like you wake up feeling like you haven't slept in 2 days. And wow. it's absolute bone crushing fatigue. So, so in 2 years time, I kind of hit a double whammy. And how
long did that period last?
So I finished treatment, breast cancer treatment in 2011. Okay. I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's in 2012.
Okay. So it was a year going in.
Yeah. It took them a long time to finally, because all my tests came back normal, which is very mm-hmm. typical for an autoimmune disease. So fortunately I kept fighting, but after going through all of these kind of trials, I decided to start a website to focus on, helping others with cancer and autoimmune and just kind of healthy living in general with pinkfortitude.com. And I was also working full time. So it was crazy just, working, 8-9 hours a day, commuting in the DC area. And then, trying to take care of my family and cooking dinner and getting my stepson to, the tutor and to soccer practice and all of that. And then, and whatever little free time I had to, really work on my blog and my website and, write articles. And I wrote a couple books as well. And then in just last year, 2017, I had a pretty major health crisis when the planets just didn't align. Everything kind of hit at once. And I ended up resigning from my full-time job.
Wow.
And we weren't really ready. Like we were talking about it, but we weren't really ready for it.
Right.
So, we kind of knew that my health was, hanging on a thread to begin with. And mm-hmm. that at some point, hopefully my business would grow, that it would give us enough income to, for me to be able to quit my full-time job. But my health had other plans in mind. What do they say? Life is what happens when something about planning it. I can't remember the quote. Anyway, so there's some kind of life happening when you make plans or plans make you, or I don't know, something. Anyway,
it doesn't always go as planned, maybe.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, so I went from I was working for the federal government. My salary was just under $150,000.
Right.
And so I went from making six figures to zero.
That's
because,
a lot of money.
Yeah, my website was still, like I said, I mean, I was working at it part-time and I just didn't have the time and energy to really, put into it. So, I mean, I was doing okay, but, I really wasn't making any money at it yet. So it was just like the scariest jump and leap of faith ever. I mean, it was, fortunately my husband, since day one has just been very, very supportive, but it was hard. I mean, it was hard financially. It was just hard emotionally to go from, being at the top of my game in my career to literally starting a business from scratch and, trying to make sense of, losing the income and how do I grow my business and, and then not only that, but also, dealing with the, the fatigue and just the pain and everything that kind of comes along with having a chronic illness.
Tell me a little bit more about how, because you did something here where it would seem tell me a little bit more like how, I don't know how I'm going to put it, because you went from having a chronic illness, you went from then deciding, hey, I'm going to start a blog.
Right.
I want to see how I can maybe help others while I'm going through this hell, technically, right?
Exactly, yes.
and then losing your job, because that was your main income, because you were just doing a blog. At that time, you weren't monetizing off of it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it was still kind of a hobby blog, and I was making a little bit of money, but it wasn't anything that was going to pay the bills.
Wait, repeat that one more time, and I'll take this part off because you stopped, your audio went out.
Oh, sorry. I said it's, so yeah, I was making a little bit of money with the blog, but it was pretty much just a hobby blog at that time.
Right.
So it definitely wasn't paying the bills.
And that's amazing because someone, for example, many people, when they get this chronic illness, I've had some family members who went through the same thing. Some chose the route to kind of, I wouldn't say, no, I think victimize is a very negative word, but more so like didn't know what to do after that, right? Ended up, I don't know what you would say that, but most of them kind of gave up, some of them gave up. And then some, like I have an aunt of mine who's, who I love a lot. And when she went through the same thing you did, she started her own bakery business.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she just, cause she's always been known for the best sweets. I mean, every time we go over to her house, it was like sweets, like the best things that that's what you look forward to. You love the food, but it's like, I can't wait for the dessert. Right. And, I just hit my head. But basically what I was trying to say is that why did you choose to do the personal blog? I know you said you wanted to help others, but what in that decision did you feel like it was going to help you move forward?
It's interesting. My mother actually was diagnosed with Addison's disease when she was pregnant with me, and that's a very rare autoimmune condition. So, they basically told her I wouldn't be born. She would never carry me to term. Wow. They told her she wouldn't live another 10 years. And, she's getting ready to celebrate her 73rd birthday this year. So, yeah, she's still going strong, still kicking. But, watching her my entire life, watching her with, being sick all the time. And she had this phrase about having fortitude. And she kept saying it, anything bad that would happen to her, anything bad that would happen to me. She kept saying, oh, you just got to have fortitude and just, dust yourself off and just make the best of it. Mm-hmm. And, when I watched her just live this life as full as anyone can imagine, just not knowing when her last day on this earth is going to be. I mean, we're all going to die someday and meet our maker. But just when you kind of have that illness and just that, that knowing that, it's going to take you any day, just watching her live her life to the fullest. And especially with the, she kept saying to have fortitude. Mm-hmm. And growing up, I never really knew what it meant. But after I got sick, it was very clear. So, and that's actually how my business came to be was Pink Fortitude. It's, obviously men enjoy my blog and as well, but it's, really designed for women.
Right.
And, hence the pink. And then the Fortitude is to just, help people really find that place after they've been, sick or diagnosed, and just find that place of, what, I can dust myself off. I can pick up the pieces, and, I can continue life. It just might be a little bit different, but, I can be a little healthier. I can live life a little more simply. And, that's what it's all about.
I love that. I really do love that, because it gives people hope. It's saying, you're a true example of what it's like to be, hey, I went through this hard time. It sucked. And I cried, like you said, you cried, you went through all that pain, but you couldn't live like that anymore. Right.
Right.
Because it's like, that's it. This is the challenge I was given at this age, and now I have to do something to move forward. I have to do something. So I liked how you chose a different route. Some people would choose other ways and other avenues to find some type of excitement, to find some type of excitement so they can wake up every morning and say, oh, okay, this is exciting for me to do. I'm moving forward. I'm looking forward to something. I think you almost cured yourself in a way. It's like you almost had your own medicine, to
right.
whatever pains you were going through. Because in reality, I've met people who've been cancer-free for 20 years. And I asked them, I was like, how? What are you doing that nobody else is doing, right? What are you doing differently? And they simply just said, I did what I love, because I knew that if I stressed myself, the stress itself will cause more pain. And that would add on to the cancer. But if I did everything I can to be happy and just remind myself, I'm still alive, I'm here, I'm present, it made things easier for me to move forward. So I love that the whole aspect of what you're doing, everything about it, the message you're giving, it's amazing. It's really, truly amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. And it's interesting. It actually first started, before it even became a blog and a website, it started in the waiting room. And I realized that, I'm looking around and we're all miserable. And, I was like, the first thing I did was, hi, I'm Holly, I've got breast cancer, I've got Hashimoto's, what are you in here for? Just saying hello. And, some people would ignore me and, want nothing to do me. But then, you get the people that start talking and opening up. And I realized by the time I went into my appointment, just having that conversation, I felt 100 times better. Like I didn't feel like that sickness had that weight over me. I felt like I actually had ownership over it. Mm-hmm. And, I just kind of took that philosophy from, simple conversations to building Pink Fortitude to the brand that it is today.
I love that. You said something important. You said that you took control of it. That's important. Cancer takes control of you usually, right? But you flipped it. You flipped it. Tell me a little bit more about the tactics or techniques or things that you've done like in your daily life to help you start saying, I'm in control now versus the cancer.
So every day, every morning, and this is, 100%, there's not one day that goes by. I wake up every day, and before I even get out of bed, I practice my gratitudes and just, kind of go through the list of everything that's happened in the past 24 hours and, just be thankful for it. Mm-hmm. And, no matter how small, and gratitude is one of the highest, vibrational philosophies that's out there. It just really lifts your spirits. And then, I also practice some meditation and prayer before I get out of bed, but just really just to help center me for the day and just really, kind of get me ready. But one of the biggest things I do is I prioritize. I take each day, each week, and each month. And I have my list of, it's between running a house and running a business. I have my list of this absolutely has to get done. Like the world is going to end if this does not get done. Right. And then I have my list of, it'd be really nice to get this done, but I'm not going to stress if it doesn't. And then, it's the list of, okay, if for some reason I wake up with abundant energy today, I can get all this done. Mm-hmm. So I kind of have my list into 3 different tiers. And that really helps me to know exactly what I'm going to focus on for each day. Mm-hmm. And, and help me be a lot more productive because, when you have a chronic illness and you have limited energy, it's easy to fall into that space of getting distracted. So I really have that productivity, like I said, especially, to run my business, I have that productivity to focus on, as Stephen Covey says, first things first. And the other thing too is I also know when I'm going to feel good. Like I know throughout the day, and every day is a little bit different, but I wake up with the most amount of energy. And then usually around 10, 11 o'clock, I just crash and I either take a nap or I lay down. And sometimes it's 3 and 4 hours. Like it's a good chunk out of my afternoon. But then, I kind of wake up and I feel better, in the evening. So I also plan my day around, what has to get done in terms of the time. So I know my most, physical and mentally taxing activities are in the morning, just because that's when I have the most energy. And, and then, kind of I have some easier activities that I plan, both for work and for my business. I plan in the afternoon when I don't have as much energy. Right. So I can still be productive even if I'm sitting on the couch.
I like that. So you're aware of who you are and what in yourself you know yourself to the T, where it's like, okay, I know what I'm going to do here. I know what I'm going to do then, this time I can't do this. Like, no way, forget about it. Right. I like that because now you're setting yourself up for success versus failure.
Yeah. And, and sometimes even meal planning, like I'll do meal planning, I'll plan a couple meals on, Sunday morning, or I'll plan a couple meals, in the morning, and then we'll have them at night. So it's like, I'm not always cooking dinner at night. I mean, I plan whenever I have the most energy. So.
I love that. I love that a lot. Tell me a little bit more about when you have those off days, because I know that happens,
Oh yeah, it definitely does. Especially we were talking about traveling and every time I travel, I always plan a few days afterwards to recuperate. And, for example, I've got a trip coming up. I'm going to be flying across the country, and I literally plan an entire week after that. And I just don't schedule any appointments, and I don't schedule anything big. Now I'm still going to have the day-to-day to get done, but it's up to me and how I feel. But I kind of know that, when I have those, if something big is coming up, like if, my husband and I go out on a date or something like that, or we're out a little bit later, like I know the next day I'm going to have a little bit of quiet time and a little more downtime. So when I do that, I also have that kind of list of activities in my head, again, both for work and for home, it's one and the same, right?
Right.
And I have this list of activities that are more quiet, easy, not, I can do on the couch, or I can do just kind of quietly, versus activities that require a lot of mental or, physical energy. And that sort of thing. So I have those lists, and I know that whenever I'm having a bad day or, whatever, like I can still be productive, even if it's just a small amount. And you know what? It feels good that I'm not just laying down the entire day and just kind of crashing. Like I'm actually, even if it's 2 or 3 or 4 hours of light work, I'm still at least productive. But that's not without saying, I mean, obviously, self-care, if anyone's out there and sick, I mean, self-care is important, and, to take care of yourself and everything like that. So I'm not advocating forget how you feel and just, go out and, do whatever. But, just to really kind of know your boundaries, know your limits, and then kind of plan accordingly.
Now, from hearing how you speak and how you think, clearly your mindset is a very strong base for how you're moving forward, your foundation, I would say. What books have you read? Who have you been listening to? Maybe who have you been mentored by, that got you to this point where it's like, okay, your mindset is just so strong. Like a lot of women, not even just general women, but men too, when they get chronic illnesses, the number one thing that's going to get damaged is your mindset.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's, that's the biggest thing, is just, like I said, just to kind of take control. I mean, I think my parents are, huge influencers. My mom with her whole Fortitude mantra, which is, what I try to help others with and inspire others with. But, even my father was in sales. He had this mantra that if you don't go, you don't get. And, basically is a little story, a little plaque that he had up on his wall. And, basically like, if you just kind of sit around and don't do anything, nothing's going to happen, right? You have to go and get it. And again, just when you're living with a chronic illness and just, it's really hard to function, just those small victories, those, find something small that's going to, turn that mindset around and make you feel like, okay, I'm productive, I'm human, I can actually, do something. But in terms of books, Brendan Burchard is actually one of my favorite. Yeah, I subscribe to his, kind of philosophies and everything. So I've been reading a couple of his books lately, and I actually have a red chalkboard on my wall that's got the people and the projects and everything like that.
I love that.
That I track. Yeah.
That's awesome. And he's a great guy. He definitely knows exactly, he hits all the points. So it definitely teaches you how to kind of move forward in life.
Oh yeah. And I'm at a conference, that I'm going to be seeing him speak. So I'm excited.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah. So I'm very excited to see him in person.
It's like a whole different experience when you see them in person.
Oh yeah.
I remember I was like 17 years old, I think, when I first started getting into this, I guess you could call it the self-help world, right? I call it being more aware of my actions and behaviors world. So when I first got into it, there was one gentleman that I was like I loved him not because of he was known as, his name was Matthew Hussey. He was known as a dating coach, but at that age, what I was going to him for was more about how to be more of a high valued woman and just achieve the success you want. Because he talked a lot about that as well. And just being so young and listening to him, it kind of guided me the right way. I didn't have, just didn't, when you're young, like you said, you had your parents as super, the great role models. They lived the life that you wanted to live. They really taught you the great values. My parents are great, but at the same time, I wanted different things, if that made any sense. They lived a different life versus with the life I choose to live, right? And when you're young, you don't know who to turn to. Sometimes these mentors that don't even know you're their mentors, and they just have all these books that they wrote or videos they've done. It was a great experience. So I can understand how it can get exciting when you see him in person. Because when I saw him in person, I freaked out. I was about to be like, just marry me, take me. But that's awesome. That's very exciting. I'm excited to hear more about that too. Tell me a little bit more about the books you wrote. I know you said you published a few books.
Yes. So my first book was actually called The Coconut Heads Cancer Survival Guide, My Journey from Diagnosis to I Do. And it was well, when I was bald, my husband called me Coconut Head. So I tell you what, we laughed every single day, and he made all these like silly nicknames. So it just kind of stuck, and it was a cute title for the book. But then my most recent book is called Thriving in the Workplace with Autoimmune Disease. And it basically chronicles what I went through with autoimmune disease in the workplace, and then also some between EEO and FMLA and reasonable accommodations and all of that. It really helps individuals who are working a full-time job and have, some kind of autoimmune or chronic illness to, really be able to use the tools that are available to them, that they can, ask for accommodations and, what their legal rights are. And I'm actually turning it into a training course as well for HR and managers.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited about that. It's definitely, and it hit number one on Amazon in the first 10 hours. It was
wow.
Published. It was crazy. It was self-published too, so I was really excited about that.
That's super awesome. Tell me a little bit more. So you're going to create a program on it, and you're going to sell it to them, I'm assuming. What specifically is in the program? Like maybe like a sneak peek of like what you might be like kind of guiding them.
Sure. Yeah, and we're actually it's a year-long plan. So the launch isn't until February, but it's basically going to be a training module for individuals who are in management and HR, either private industry, public, government. The law is the law. It doesn't really change, and it's going to be very reasonable, so that you can have one manager or multiple managers view it, and just have I've got some legal experts, some EO experts, and really talking about the uniqueness of autoimmune as and it is a legal disability, and it's just talking about how individuals with autoimmune have, kind of unique needs in the workplace. I mean, we see, individuals with wheelchairs or that are blind or, things that are pretty obvious. Even if someone breaks a leg, you kind of know what to do and help them. But with autoimmune, it's, we call it the invisible illness because it's hard to, you've got these crazy, weird symptoms, many of which is fatigue and pain. And it's hard to get them diagnosed, and it's hard to articulate, how they affect you and how that, how your work kind of affects as well. So
Right.
I'm really excited. I initially started this project for individuals like me to help. But then I realized, oh my goodness, there's like a whole world of HR management that just aren't aware of this. So to be able to bring the message to them, I'm really excited about that.
That's awesome. I mean, I that's amazing that you thought of that, because it really is going to change the work environment for people who have with a chronic illness, because now the managers know how to handle them, how to react to certain things if you don't know what's going on. I love that a lot. That's very fascinating. I like that a lot. And the book that the Coconut Head, the other book, it's a long title. I love it a lot.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part in the book that you were really? I know, I'm sure the whole book you were very passionate about writing, but what piece really you felt that really needed to be there? Like, what message you really thought?
Which book are we talking about? The Coconut Head or the autoimmune book?
The Coconut Head.
Trying to think. So I think one of the funniest ones was when I was, and I actually have this piece. I've got an upcoming book this fall launching as well, and I kind of have a twist on it. But basically, I was coming out of treatment, and it was one of those. Again, we were talking about the juggle. And I was coming out of actually radiation treatment.
Okay.
And I had to pick up my stepson from school, and I wanted to go take a nap, and I just had like all this stuff to do. And so I got out of treatment. I literally changed Clark Kent, put on my clothes, and I just literally just book it down the hallway, right? And I almost run over this elderly woman and then the nurse that was walking her. I felt absolutely horrible. Fortunately, everyone was okay, but I was just like, I am so sorry. I don't have time to be sick. And, that phrase, that sentence really stuck with me because it's so true. It's like, and especially as women, we've got all these demands, we have, work, we have, families, we, volunteer, we do everything. We're superwomen. That's what we do. And then you add a chronic illness, cancer, autoimmune, or anything else on top of it. And you're like, oh my goodness, I don't have time for this.
Right.
So, I've been asked a lot of questions. I've never been asked that one before. So it made me think for a second. But, that phrase really has stuck with me. And yeah.
That's interesting. I don't have time to be sick. That's an interesting phrase, because I tend to say that all the time. I'm like, I don't have time to sit here and just take care of whatever problem I know my body's yelling at me for.
Right, right.
But at the same time, it's like, it makes you stop and realize like, whoa, you always have time for everything, but maybe you're just not prepared, right? You're not prepared or proactive enough right now to feel like you have the time to take care of it, right? And I think that's a powerful phrase you said there, because I don't know, at least the way I take it, you can tell me if you took it in a different way, but me, it was like, you always have time for everything. But if you're saying you don't have time, that means you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that's pretty powerful. I like that it was in the book. Then I have to read more about it and buy it. Tell me about the book that you're publishing in the fall that you were talking about.
Right. So we've got a launch coming up in the fall, and it's actually called Princess Snaptastic and the Walking Fart Band. And since my last book was kind of on the legal side and a little more serious, I needed something lighter and fun. Right. And so that's what this is. It's a hardback. It's designed for any individuals with any kind of chronic illness. And it's just a way to laugh and to heal. And it's got some just funny antidotes, but it also has some healing tips as well. So we're not going to get real deep into the kind of healing aspect, but I'm not going to leave someone laughing without, the ability to say, hey, you know what, maybe I can change this, or maybe I can change that, whether, it's something in your diet or something that you do. So I'm also going to, have some tips for healing as well.
I love that. Since we're talking about healing, tell me what you would say. Let's say I know there's women out there they're going through this, where they have the chronic illness. Let's say things are not going well in their marriage. It seemed like you had although it was a horrible experience going through it, you had a good support system.
Yes, I did. I was very, very blessed to have a good support system.
And that really helps. And, that's something definitely to be grateful for, because I know there's some women out there who had the same chronic illness, not doing well in their marriage, having a hard time getting a grasp of their life again. And also maybe before they had the chronic illness, they didn't really have anything going for them either, because they didn't take advantage of the life they wanted, right? What would you say to them? Maybe words of wisdom or something that I know if there's going to be someone out there listening to this, and I'm sure maybe.
Yeah. So, the first place to really look is inside, and, you need to love yourself and to, respect the place that your body's at. And, healing really begins from within. And, even if, maybe a spouse isn't supportive, or family, or, you don't have a good support system, you are in control of your health and your healing. Mm-hmm. And, to be able to speak up for yourself, to not take no for an answer at the doctor's office, to keep looking for answers, and, to be your own support system first. And then, to find those in your space that, if your family's not supportive, a lot of the, hospitals have support organizations as well for different illnesses, and even online, different Facebook groups and things like that. So, but, really looking within is the first place to start. And, accepting, not necessarily accepting, oh, I'm sick, but accepting that this is where I'm at. Mm-hmm. And, being okay in that place, but then not letting it take over and say, okay, here's where I'm at, but how am I going to get through today? How am I going to get through tomorrow? Where do I want my health to be tomorrow? Where do I want my health to be next week? And, to really just look within and start that healing process from within.
I love it. I love it a lot. Thank you. You should hold your own chronic illness mastermind almost. Just take everybody out to some retreat or something. I love it, because it probably could help a lot of women, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Maybe it's your next, you should do it as your next career goal. I don't know, somewhere in your business venture. But that's awesome. Tell me a little bit more about the next steps towards for Pink Fortitude. I know you lost your job, you started this blog, now you're monetizing off of it now, correct?
Yes.
How did you get to that point? How did you get to the point where it's like, okay, now let me try to make you have to make money, right? If you're going to do something. Oh
yeah, absolutely.
How did you do that?
We actually, I had a really good foundation, even though, I really wasn't at profit whenever I resigned from my job. I had a really good foundation, and I had several years. So, really just working on, connecting with my community. I partnered up with someone recently. We actually put on a summit called Connecting Health, Breaking the Link Between Cancer and Autoimmune Disease. So, that really helped kind of put me on the map in terms of working with individuals with, not just one or the other, but also both. I mean, there's a lot of women out there that have both. And, just really putting out good content, good quality content. And, like I said, just connecting with my community. Mm-hmm. And, like I said, I'm working on a new book, and it's called the Mystery Illness Summit. And we're going to be exploring kind of some of the questions of, so many people have, these undiagnosed problems or these weird symptoms, and, just trying to get to the root cause, and to, really help individuals just get healthier and live simple lives. We've got so much going on right now. And, with everything, just lives, family, social media, it feels like, you're being pulled in a million different directions. And, a big piece of Pink Fortitude is just taking it down to the basics. My husband and I are both, we both swear we should have been born in a different decade, because, we love all things vintage, and the 1940s are kind of our favorite time of, just in general, like our favorite decade and time. And, we even call our vegetable garden in the back our victory garden. So, but, it's just really, it means a lot that, to kind of go back to that place. back to the time when our grandparents were young, and things were a lot simpler. People weren't watching TV for hours on end, or on Facebook for hours on end, or running here and running there. I mean, life was a lot simpler back then. So
Right.
I think especially with a chronic illness, to be able to take yourself, even with all the demands going on, to be able to take yourself back to that place that, what, I can live more simply. I can take a lot of stress off of me. I can eat healthier. I can have less toxins in my house. And so that's what we're up to and where we're going.
I love it. No, I love it a lot. And it seems like you guys enjoy the simple things in life, which is very important, and you're aware of them. Most people aren't, and I like that a lot. It seems like you're preaching what you're living, or you're living what you're preaching.
We try to anyway. Yeah.
No, I love it a lot. So tell me. So I want to ask, because I know that it seems like you've been through so much at 39. How were you before?
So before all of that, I mean, I was, like I said, I was at the top of my career. I was actually racing.
What were you doing exactly?
I was in the federal government, so I was I was a GS-15.
Okay.
So yeah, I was pretty high level in the government, and in a management position. But I was also racing Xterra races, which are like they're triathlons, but they're off road.
Okay.
So so it's really. I mean, I was an athlete.
Wow.
I mean, I was, and I don't have any regrets. I mean, I was single at the time. I traveled all over the world. I got to have a lot of fun, and the first 39 years, no regrets. I have had a ton of fun. Achieved a lot, and then I got sick, and it's the things that I can't do now because of it. I have no regrets, because I was able, when I was young, I took advantage of everything that I could. And I'm very, very blessed for that. If there's any millennials listening, that one's for you, is that don't let life go by, because you never know what tomorrow's going to bring. Right.
No, I love that. You said you traveled everywhere. What was the one country that taught you the biggest lesson?
I've been to some really cool places. So two of my favorite places. One was Bruges in Belgium, and it was so, I don't know, just that little town. It just, I don't know, there was something magical about that town. And I remember just sitting on the bank of the canal and just journaling and writing, and just having that space that I had not a care in the world. I just had this beautiful place, this beautiful town. I was all by myself. And it was a very special time. And the other one was Death Valley, believe it or not, in California. And, kind of the same thing. Again, I love to travel by myself, and, especially being single, it was just a lot of fun to do. And, kind of the same thing. I mean, you're in this just vast expanse, and just being able to kind of walk and hike and sightsee. And it was a really magical place. And I think also the California desert, there is something in that desert that just has some crazy healing properties. So it was a really fun trip.
That's it. That's awesome. When you said you traveled alone, how did that? Some people are afraid to travel alone. Some people haven't done it yet. I know you learn a lot about yourself when you travel alone. What are a few things when you went and you traveled alone, you realized, wow, I'm like this. I didn't know that. Or I didn't know that I would do this when I'm like talking to people,
And also traveling in a foreign country is different than traveling in your home country. But
100%.
Yeah. I actually did take, I was pretty proficient in self-defense.
Oh,
so,
okay.
So that was kind of the box that got checked before I traveled. Just, traveling by yourself, I think safety is number one.
What self-defense did you do?
Muay Thai.
Muay Thai, okay.
Yeah, and just like baby Krav Maga.
Yeah, I was actually going to say, I like that.
Yeah, not like the hardcore, but just kind of the baby, the basics,
I actually am a huge fan of Krav Maga. So
yeah, just enough to like get me out of a situation and to run away. I don't need to beat someone to a pulp. I just wanted to, like, if traveling by yourself, like if God forbid something were to happen, I just wanted to be able to like defend myself, get out of the situation and run away.
Run away. No, that's funny. You're just like me, I'm like you, I guess. I'm like a huge self-defense junkie. Like that's something that I make sure I need to learn. So definitely when you say Krav Maga, that's something I've been trying to get into just because I personally feel like Krav Maga is going to definitely help you get what you need to get done, what you need to do and get out, you know?
Absolutely. So. But, you know, I mean, every trip kind of has its own special place, but, you know, I don't know. I just, again, I was an only child. So, you know, being by myself, traveling by myself isn't that big of a deal to me. I know it would, you know, scare the living daylights out of most people, but, yeah, I don't know. I think just to be able to experience and just not be on anyone else's agenda but your own, and really be present with yourself, and, you know, to be fully engaged in, you know, only what you want. It's selfish, but in a good way, you know, and kind of in a healing, therapeutic way. And yeah, and the other thing too, I did on the safety aspect, I gave everyone my itinerary and I checked in twice a day with my loved ones, so they know I was alive. And this was all before social media, when I was traveling like that too. So, you know, it's before you could just post on Facebook and people knew you were alive. You could like actually had to check in. But no, I mean, I think just, you know, and it doesn't even have to be like a big travel, like even just in your own town. I mean, to go out and just do something by yourself, and to go to a park or go to a museum and just kind of experience it. It's just a whole different dynamic when you're just there and experiencing it all for yourself, and, you know, just to kind of take it in fully and in however you want to.
No, I agree. Traveling is good for the soul. And at least for me, because I traveled a lot, and it's a few lessons that I learned that most people don't usually learn until they do it alone. It's just learning how to be observant, you know, watch before doing, I think was like a big thing when I was traveling. I don't know if you've experienced that, but I traveled a lot. I actually haven't traveled the United States as much. Actually, most of my travel was outside of the country, and being outside the country, you don't know the language. You don't know how things work. It's just a different environment to be in. Mm-hmm. And one thing I learned when I was traveling with a friend one time, she just told me I was about to go do something, and she stopped me. She held me back. She was like, "Stop." She's like, "Just watch those people do it first." And I didn't get it at first. I was like, "No, let's go. Like, you know, this is an opportunity. Let's get up and go." You know. And she just like, "Just wait." And then she ended up, as we watched, we saw the mistake they did, and it wasn't the right move to take. And she was like, "See," she's like, "Sometimes it's okay to let other people do it first." And it's like these little lessons that just stuck with me, you know, but it's all through traveling. And I'm sure you probably felt the same way too.
Oh yeah. And I also enjoyed, you know, talking to people too from all the different places. And, you know, it's funny, it doesn't matter where you go, you know, US, abroad. I mean, people are people, you know, and like you said, watching and observing. I mean, you know, watching teenagers speak the same language in every country, even if they don't speak, you know, your language. You know, you get the eye rolls and the, you know, groans and everything. I mean, but yeah, I love to people watch. It's a lot of fun.
It's the best thing.
And kids playing is the same no matter where you go in the world. And it just, you know, being able to take those universal truths home with you is, you know, is pretty magical.
It is. And about the kids, babies speak their language. I swear to God. Cause like sometimes I'll see babies talk to each other. I'm like, and they don't even speak the same language, and they're just like laughing. And it's just the funniest thing to watch. And so it tells you if they can talk, we can talk too.
Yep, exactly.
I love it. Well, I mean, Holly, I want to say thank you for everything and for being on the show. I wanted to ask you one last question. What are three advice or tips you would give to anyone out there listening? I know you've given so much, but maybe your three mottos, maybe, right? 3 things that you want to leave people with. What would that be?
You know, I would say number 1, kind of back to what I said earlier, you know, whatever grounds you, centers you, whether it's, you know, religion, prayer, gratitudes, meditation, just start each day with something that really grounds and centers you. And, you know, it just really helps you to start every day on the right foot, on a good foot, you know, on a good vibration. Number 2, don't ever give up. I mean, it's been 8 years now since my first diagnosis, and I'm still recovering. I mean, I've got good days, I've got bad days. I'm better today than I was, but it's taken a lot of doctors, a lot of tests, a lot of money, and I still fight because I know that better health is out there for me. It's just finding the right answer. So, I say number two would be never give up. And, number three, just love a little harder, love yourself harder, love those around you harder. You just never know what tomorrow's going to bring, and to, live each day to the fullest and to love every day to the fullest.
I love it. Thank you, Holly. Where can we find you?
Oh, sure. It's pinkfortitude.com. And then actually, if you hit the / in the word thank, THANK, I have a healthy living book bundle that I think is valued around $50, and it is free. So anyone listening can, there's several different downloads that, one for everyone, basically. So it's pinkfortitude.com and the / in the word thank. And I really appreciate you having me on your show. It's been great to connect and to connect with all your listeners too.
No, I love having you on the show. I think there's going to be a lot of people out there who are going to really enjoy this video, and I'll make sure to put your website, all your information. Do you have an Instagram, Facebook, or anything like that, or just your website's probably the best thing?
Yep, everywhere. Website's always the best place to start. Get your freebies, but then on social media at Pink Fortitude is pretty much everywhere.
Perfect. I'll make sure to put everything up. Holly, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you.
No problem. All right, guys, listen, if you want to learn anything about what Holly does, how she preaches, how she lives her life, I suggest getting her books that we mentioned, also looking at her website and reading her blogs, maybe getting those freebies, and also following her on Instagram or Facebook, I'm assuming, too, as well. All right, guys, thank you so much. Thank you, Holly, for your time. And, take care.